Mm. Does anyone have a question?
Stuart,
Yes.
does every illness that we have, is that related to spiritual growth?
I would think it's related to spiritual growth and the lack of spiritual growth. Spiritual growth will open up areas inside, release poisons, that might give you a flu, that might, give you a little temperature, a headache. The lack of spiritual growth allows those poisons, that tension, to go so deep inside you that it creates very serious problems, physical problems. So it's both. You understand? I mean, there's no escaping being human. I don't care what you do. And better to release this repressed negativity that exists inside just about every human being than to allow it to just, germinate there, get, deeper inside us and, really tear us apart, create all kinds of tension and difficulties. And, it's something that takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of internal need. It takes, and people often don't want to do that. They want some kind of situation that says, I'm okay, you're okay. Pat on the back and, everything's going to be fine and hunky-dory. And life isn't that way. Life takes us up and down hills and through all kinds of places, And our job is to, as I've said it, so many times, is to just build a system inside that no matter what is going on, we can sustain and maintain balance, an open heart, a quiet mind. So yes, it will release. I mean, you got sick this morning, and by late afternoon, you look great. You had just, I don't know what happened, but you drained a lot of tension out of you, a lot of, energy, negative energy out of yourself, and you look wonderful, Does anyone else have a question?
I have one, Stuart.
Yes.
I've had a tender tailbone for a little bit. Does that have anything to do with the practice and where I'm at, or do I need a new chair?
You've had a tender tailbone?
Yes. It's a little sore.
Well, yeah, it could very readily have to do with the Kundalini energy is opening inside you. And the releasing of that energy can create soreness,
Mm-hmm.
So it could be that. And I think it is that, Lynn, because, look, since you've been coming to these classes, you've grown a great deal in your life, You're virtually a different person today than I remember who first started these classes. And, in that transformation, Kundalini begins to rise inside. And the pain could be the resistance to allowing that energy to release itself, And probably when you finally surrender in enough depth and that energy just releases itself, that pain is going to go away.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think, yes, it has a lot to do with the growth that's taken place inside you since I've known you.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, dear. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I mean, we run from pain, and I remember once reading somewhere, the Buddha said, suffering is the fastest path to God. And it rang so true to me because I've never met a person who doesn't suffer in one way or another, ever in my life. Like Rudy once said to me, he never met an easy person in his life. And it's true, there aren't easy people. And yet, if we utilize that difficulty, that instead of running away from it and being afraid of it, we suddenly build kind of nobility of soul inside ourselves that can transform the difficulty into a spiritual life. The Buddha was right. Kiss his foot, because it is one of the fastest paths to spiritual enlightenment. And when you read the hagiography of saints, my God, what went on in their lives is just scary, So it's using whatever manifests in our life as a reason to grow and not a reason to defeat ourselves. Not a reason to shy away from growth, not a reason to go hide in the corner, to try to, become some kind of fetus living in a womb somewhere, to open to it and let it really nurture you and learn how to transform it into joy, into love, and frankly, nobody has to go looking for suffering. We all have it. I've been doing this a long time and I have it. I have pain and difficulty and I saw Rudy, having that. And that to me was astonishing, after the years that he was working on himself, going through very deep pain inside, changing, the pain of change. His head would open. It happens to me, my head opens and suddenly there's a lot of pain. And instead of hiding and, being some kind of kid hiding out from the rough and tumble of life, it's really to open and how can I use this to grow? Because you can't escape it. Can't hide from it. You try to hide from it, it gets worse. So using it and getting strong inside because of it. Getting really grounded in the core of your being. And understanding that there's something noble inside each and every one of us. There's something that can slay the dragon inside each and every one of us. And we don't have to wait around for some white knight to come charging over the horizon on a horse, We have that power in us, and we have to tap it and use it and be grateful for it. But it's an internal force, You can't manipulate the external world and expect internal changes to take place. It doesn't work. I won't mention names, but somebody told me the other day they worked for a very big corporation. And so the CEO of the corporation is one of the most difficult people for anyone in the corporation to be around. He's yelling at everybody. He's angry all the time. And it's extraordinary where somebody is making $300 million a year. And they're angry. They're angry at everybody. And that's the way it is, though. You understand, it's all an internal transformation. And the whole goal and to attain the highest treasure life has to offer is just be a happy person. That's the greatest treasure. All the rest of it is bullshit, you know? All the rest of it just goes to the grave. Happiness goes to a state of enlightenment, a oneness with God, with what's infinite in the universe. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, I have a question, Bob Sink.
Yes, Bob?
When I feel like I've really had a really good day, that I've really accomplished something, that I've reached a new level, invariably, I would say almost 100% of the time, the very next day, feel like I've run into a brick wall. Could you talk about that piece?
Look, you're right, Bob. Anything positive that happens to you in the world is going to be followed by something negative. It's how energy manifests on the earth, because most energy that we see and perceive in the world is a reflection of the mind and other people's minds, how they perceive the world. And that is positive and negative. It's all polarity. It's all right and wrong, good and bad, you know, life and death, and you know. And if anything wonderful happens, positive happens to us, we'll be tested with that negative force that comes along. It's happened to me all my life, you know, and I finally have accepted it. And I finally have arrived at a place inside myself where nothing is positive or negative anymore. Everything is an opportunity to grow. And as soon as that began to take place in my life, you know, the whole reality I saw around me changed. It wasn't negative. It was a reason for me to grow. It wasn't positive. It was a reason for me to grow. I mean, I've had some unbelievably negative things happen in my life. And they always would follow some unbelievably positive things that would happen in my life. And I had to learn to accept that that is the way the world manifests. And my job is to transform both positive and negative into just energy. It's neither positive nor negative. It's just a reason to grow, both of them. And not be defeated. I mean, it's very easy to be happy if you win, you know, the lottery, the Powerball, you know, very easy. Very difficult to have joy and love in your heart when you're taking out the garbage, washing the dishes, you know, dealing with crazy people, you know, over money, and you know. But that's the test. Can we transform both positive and negative into spirit, into energy? You know, I said it, I don't know, a few weeks ago. The energy of God, the energy of spirit is neither positive or negative. It's energy. Shakti, it's just energy. It becomes positive and negative when it enters people. And if people are negative inside, if they're down, then the energy transmits from them in a negative way. If people live with their hearts open, with love, with joy, you know, then it transmits to other people that way. I mean, I remember I was sitting with the landlord, or not the landlord, but the agent for the landlord of my building here. And I was negotiating the rent. And he got very uptight, this guy. I'll never forget, he really got like, woo. And I finally started talking to him in a way where it wasn't threatening to him anymore. And he suddenly lightened up. Oh, is that what you want? Okay, we can do something with you. Reduce the rent a little bit. You know, so it's always that way. It's how we interact. It's what our state is inside. And the realization that there is no such thing as positive or negative. There's just energy. It becomes positive or negative when it flows through people. Depending upon people's state of mind, their being, what they're like, how developed the chakra system is inside of them. And frankly, most people don't have a highly developed chakra system. Most people live in their minds, live in their emotions, tensions, insecurities, problems. You know, most people function that way. So what do we expect to come from them? You know, a lot of that stuff. I mean, most people, you know, don't have highly developed inner lives, chakra systems. So what flows through them is tension, negativity. And occasionally, you know, something opens inside themselves and something positive comes out. I mean, I had a really interesting conversation on Zoom with somebody. People I know are having a really hard time. And one person was talking about he can't find anything to be grateful for, anything to treasure in his life. And sitting next to him was this wonderful wife that he has. And I said to him, why don't you look over your right shoulder? That's what I said to him. Look over your right shoulder. She was sitting there. You know, he looked and he just broke out into this big smile. Something changed in him. I said, don't tell me you don't have treasure in your life. Look over your right. And every time you get into that bullshit state of mind, just look over your right shoulder.
Cute.
Pick up your child and hug your child. You know? Boy, that whole conversation went from, I thought, impossible to something that was life-giving, you know? Life-giving. So if something negative happens, well, just look at the wonderful, positive things in your life. And there's so many of them. You can go read my posts that you so graciously put up on my website every week. You know? Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? It was so incredible. I just looked at it. I said, just look over your right shoulder. So he said, well, I said, take a look. There's his wife sitting next to him. He said, tell me you don't have treasure in you. And the guy just opened up. His heart just went zing, you know, energy change. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? We all have a right shoulder or a left shoulder, or right behind us or directly in front of us. There's always something there we can treasure to keep us from getting miserable because something happened that was not to our liking, you know? Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you and God bless you all. And there'll be a meditation on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. So God bless you all. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. And, you know, every so often, just look over your right shoulder.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.